I'm Jack Nolan, joined today by Notre Dame Special Teams Coordinator Brian Polian, and it's great to hear your voice out there on the practice field once again, and it is a very loud voice.
What's left of it? My wife calls this training camp voice. I'm not winning carpool karaoke anytime soon. Yeah, it's that time of year, but it's fun. And for me personally, after 4 years of being in charge of the whole thing, now to literally be coaching ball again and out there running drills and directing traffic, and it's been a lot of fun. And from the moment we arrived back, we knew how lucky we were. But the last 2 weeks being out on the field again, I just caught myself this morning. You step back at practice, you look over the gate, and there's the Golden Dome, and you're reminded, all right, we're really happy to be back.
And, of course, championship teams almost always have great special teams. And in recent years, there have been aspects of Notre Dame special teams that haven't been up to where Coach Kelly wants them to be. If we go back to 2009, when you were here, this Notre Dame team actually led the nation in kickoff return defense. So talk to me about the strides you have made in all areas of special teams.
I think first and foremost, just culturally, and that started with Coach Kelly from the moment I came back. His support, his emphasis with the team, making sure that they understand how important it is coming from the head coach. That's vital. I think that culturally we've done some really good things in terms of getting guys to understand their roles. There's a difference between a 4-unit difference maker and a guy that's going to have to play 2 units as a role player, but making sure that they're all bought into what their roles are. And frankly, just spending a lot of time on fundamentals here over the first 14 practices and seeing the strides. It's been encouraging.
And certainly you talk about commitment. They have made a commitment. When you were here in the past, you coached linebackers, you coached defensive backs. Right now, I know you were helping out in other areas of the field, but your responsibilities are strictly focused on being the special teams coach.
Yeah, and I think coach is ahead of the curve a little bit on that one, but I think we're going to look up a year from now, and when the 10th assistant goes into practice here in January of 18, you're going to see more Power 5 staffs built this way, but there's no doubt it gives me the time that I need to dedicate and make sure that we're on the details, and I'm not being stretched thin the way that we have been in previous years because we were wearing multiple hats, and I'm thankful for that, and that's enabled us, I think, to do a little bit more thorough job here throughout August.
And of course, one of the things you can do with special teams is flip the field on both sides of the football. So let's, first of all, go to one of the most exciting parts. That's the return game. Talk about your return game, both kickoff and punt.
CJ's done a really nice job in the kickoff return part of it here in camp, and I think it's safe to say that he'll be back there to receive the first kickoff against Temple. The punt return thing has been a competition between Fink, Sanders, and Michael Young, a freshman back there catching. So that's been a little bit of a gong show, and we're not done with that yet, because ultimately the single most important factor there is possession of the football. You tell, hey, this guy can, he can go 80 yards with it. Well, I don't care. We've got to catch it first, and we're going to put the most reliable set of hands and the best judgment back there. So that part of it's been developing, but like I said, I feel good about where we are thus far.
Coach Kelly told the media the other day that ideally he would like 3 different kickers, one for kickoffs, one for place kicks, one for punting. How is that competition going?
I think John Doerr's really done a nice job in the last week stepping up, and his kickoffs over the last 5 or 6 days have really been good. We need to continue to ratchet up the pressure. It's one thing to do it at Culver. It's another thing to do it in Notre Dame Stadium in front of 82,000. But John's wired the right way. I love his demeanor. It's not been too big for him thus far. I know Tyler Newsome wants to be involved in kickoffs. He's, Coach, I can hit long field goals, but it's like, all right, kiddo, we just want you to be the best punter that you can be, and let's put our focus there. This is really the first opportunity I've had to work with Justin Yoon, because all spring he was not physically able to kick the ball. So I've been pleased there too. I know Coach Kelly feels the same way. I mean, he has hit the ball well. He's hit it solidly. There's always a couple technique things we can clean up, but I've liked the way he's worked and the way he's communicated with us in terms of how he's feeling.
Of course, protection's kind of like the offensive line. You only notice it when it breaks down.
Yeah.
And just as important, if not more important, and that is kick and punt coverage. How is that going?
That's going good, and you're going to see frontline players on the coverage units. I mean, we got to take care and be smart with guys with like Drew Tranquil and Dalen Hayes, people like that, but our frontline players have to be on the coverage units. And when you look at the best teams in the country, their starting linebackers and safeties and corners are out there covering kicks, and I don't think we're in a position to be any different. So the coverage part of it, frankly, is my biggest point of emphasis here in the preseason. We have to cover kicks.
You've already talked about how you're just delighted with being back on the field and getting right down to the nitty-gritty with a particular unit, but how has having been a head coach for 4 years made you a better coach overall, and maybe made you look at some things a little differently than you did before you had those responsibilities?
Sure, there's no doubt your perspective changes, and it changes in a positive way. I'm probably more in tune with how we look. Do we look tired at this point? Do I need to adjust how we're working that day in relation to how we're feeling, how we manage personnel? If we're going to play a freshman, he's got to play on 3 or 4 units, because it makes no sense to burn a red shirt to put a guy out on punt return, and that's it. So being able to look at our board, our personnel through a head coach's eyes. It's funny, I notice every once in a while I'll be watching a team period and I'll be a couple yards from Coach Kelly and I'll see something and it'll bug me, and I'll turn around and bug him too. So we're every once in a while I kind of revert back to seeing it through those eyes, but it's been good, and I appreciate Coach. We have a lot of big picture conversations. He's been incredibly approachable for me. We talk a lot, and we'll talk about things that I observe on the field or he observes, and kind of game situation scenarios, things like that. So it's been a lot of fun, but there's no doubt that 4 years of experience has helped me grow and hopefully help me do a better job here.
Well, it's great to have you back. It doesn't seem like it's been as long as it has since you were here before. And the other great thing about having you back, I think your dad Bill's going to be around a little bit this fall as well, and that's always great.
Yeah, it's amazing how anxious he was to get the schedule. Not as anxious as he was, he wasn't real fired up to get to Reno 4 times a year, but now I'm excited to have them close by and all the family, and it just, this summer we were able to drive to see the people we love and not spend a day on a plane, and there's such a personal connection for my wife and I and our children here that really, there are times I step back and say, boy, how lucky are we? Not very many people get to work at their dream job. I'm getting 2 chances now, so that's pretty special.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. With Brian Polian, I'm Jack Nolan, reminding you all of our training camp reports brought to you by our friends at St. Joseph Health System.